Welcome back to the SG3 podcast, the podcast named for an Indian who threw a football in middle school and had his gym teacher mesmerized. I'm your host, Sravan, and my guest today is none other than Isaiah Chukwu, big time Bears fan. Welcome, Isaiah.
What's up, bro? How you doing?
Good to have you on the show. First things first, please hit that subscribe button down below. Isaiah, I'll make sure to put his Twitter handle in there, so give him his followers. You may or may not see more Bears fans join this show. You'll find out soon enough. But enough of that. This show is about the Bears, as you probably have guessed. And what a disgraceful time it is. Haven't won anything since 1985. Don't even mention 2006 to us. We knew that was not going to work out in the end. Don't mention 2010. We knew that was also not going to work. Neither was 2018. It's just the same old bull jive. And clearly, if you read the Chicago Sun-Times, you got Tyson Bagent on the back page right now, the Bagent of change. And my first thought was, it's the same newspaper who trashed the Bears before they won the NFC title game. How can you take that seriously? But hey, whatever works to win, right? And poor Justin Fields now has an injury to his throwing hand, possibly could need surgery, which means the Justin Fields era in Chicago could be coming to an era that has so much promise, only to fall flat. Isaiah, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, man. I just feel like, we were going into the season, we were trailing uncharted territories. And, for him to make so much progress last year and become not only just up there with the top of the quarterbacks with the Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, for him to be a top 100 player and for him to, show so much promise just for, the coaches not to use his full potential to show what he really can be. It's a total disappointment because you're left as a fan thinking he could have done more for this team and he could have done more for the franchise. And, when you've been a Bears fan, a franchise who have never had anything like a caliber of Justin Fields, the athlete he is, you strive and you want quarterbacks like a Justin Fields. And when they don't pan out, you're left wondering, when is it gonna ever happen? And you have to relate that to coaching, man.
It's just unbelievable, the simple fact that for years this organization has never been able to get it right. And we were talking in the spaces, the X spaces, I might add. Let's be more specific about it. Heck, the X spaces or Twitter, what do you want to call it? I don't even know. Mm-hmm. But we said when this process began, when Ryan Poles, the current general manager, hired head coach Matt Eberflus, Poles did come out and say that Eberflus was his guy. However, what people don't understand is that they should both share the same agent in Trace Armstrong, former Bears defensive end, also another member of the Bears who just found success outside of Chicago, wound up going to the Raiders and won a Super Bowl with them in the went to a Super Bowl, they lost to Tampa Bay. But we knew that was a problem. Ted Phillips and Bill Polian created that list. We knew that was going to be an issue. And when you see the fact that these guys had basically, Ryan Poles can put a proper PR look, and he said, and we can believe he may not be lying or whatever. But we knew that Matt Eberflus' hire was not exactly a big thing. The dude's Colts defenses weren't exactly off the charts. Okay, he's a good teacher. Teaching what? Mm-hmm. There's no stability on the line of scrimmage. The quarterback can't process. You pick an offensive coordinator. Jared Payton, I spoke with him earlier today in a space. He said he was excited for Luke Getsy. Who else would be excited if you're getting someone from the Aaron Rodgers tree? You're not getting Aaron Rodgers. And the amount of screens he likes to call. Are we sure that he wasn't from a Best Buy store? Because there's plenty of screens in there if you want screens. Like, I don't get it. There's no cohesiveness. Even the free agency moves. You spend on linebackers when you should be spending on trenches. Why? Go ahead.
Yeah, man. I hate to, interrupt the show really quick, but we have another guest that would like to join. Elise.
Ah,
Send her the link really
hey,
quick. Uh,
absolutely. Elise is one of the main co-hosts of Spaces, and for those of you who don't know, Isaiah and I have been in Spaces for the Chicago Bears for quite a while. We've been in contact for, I think, for a couple months actually. We've been doing these Spaces together.
absolutely, man. Absolutely. Just doing the spaces, having a
Yeah, we
great
get
time.
we got even other fan bases feeling sorry for us. Our friend Blue, who's a Lions fan, he's one of the rare Lions fans that wants us to do well because he needs some competition. And that's why I love him. He's always providing facts. And for those of you who may believe that Twitter spaces are just a place to rant, please know this is what we do. The one good thing about the app is that it allows people to get in there and express themselves. And it's hard enough these days. And Isaiah, you can attest to it. Forget being a Bears fan. There are Bengals fans who are frustrated sometimes with the way they look. Heck, Chiefs fans, as much successful as they've been, there was definitely a time where the Chiefs had like 50 years between their
Absolutely.
last Super Bowl.
It was a long drought, but the difference is, with the Bears is it's this long reoccurring thing that's been happening for over, it feels like for over 80 to 100 years now, that has not changed from the
Yeah,
organization. It's always been up top, looking at the
Green
George
Bay,
McCaskies, and then now, well, previously Ted Phillips, now the
Kevin
uh
Warren.
Kevin Warren, and you have to ask the question, what does he think about all of this? Is he going to be able to step into his president's shoes and say, okay, enough is enough. It is time to have a new coaching staff. And what does he think about if they're using Justin Fields the right way, whether or not they should move off of Justin Fields? It's a big factor into all of this stuff because, if Justin Fields was on any other franchise, he wouldn't look this way. So you also have to wonder, what do Kevin Warren thinks about Justin Fields and the situation he's being put into, now that, the Bears have gotten up to a rocky start, now that they choked the game to Denver that Fields played well in, which let's be real, the situation he was put in, they put him in that position to turn the ball over as much as he did. You have to think about all of those things that go according to plan that happened that's beyond Justin Fields. I think you have to look at all of that.
Yep. Well, welcome first of all to our show, AJ. AJ, how you doing?
Good. How are y'all?
Doing good. You sleeping or something?
I'm not sleeping. I'm just laying in bed.
Well, yeah, you're gonna be this is gonna be on YouTube, by the way, so we're gonna see you on YouTube sleeping. Anyway, AJ is one of the co-hosts of many Bear Spaces. Please give her a follow. Well, I'll drop that as well when this video goes up. But as we said, the Bears right now, when we look at the situation that they're in, Kevin Warren, okay, he's the new team president, but people forget Ted Phillips is still with the group as a senior consultant. So in other words, he didn't really retire. They just basically bamboozled. And even if he is retired, why does the team still look this bad? The answer is simple. The McCaskey family is so hell bent on friendship and nice people within the organization. Ever since Michael McCaskey got sensitive with Mike Ditka, you just knew, you just know it's not going to work. And even with these two picks right now, my fear is that the Bears and the Panthers will start winning games in the end where they don't need to and just screw the whole process over to the point where they're not going to get the blue chip prospect they want. They may have to mortgage some picks to move up when they shouldn't have to. There's nothing good going on here. And AJ, you've mentioned it multiple times. Floor's yours.
Um, for me, I just think at this point, especially you look at the situation, I doubt the Bears start winning games unless miraculously Tyson Bagent gets a cannon attached to his arm. Um, I don't see this team winning anytime soon, especially if what they say is true and Justin has to get surgery. Yeah, I don't see this team winning anytime soon. So the Panthers, I still don't, even though they changed coordinators, I don't see them. I don't see them winning games. It's still the same plays they've been running. It's just a different play caller. That's not going to change much of anything. So, I mean, both teams are dysfunctional. Both teams are going to have high draft picks, but only one is going to benefit from those high draft picks. But to me, it's not going to matter if you don't pick the right players. So there's that.
Absolutely. And we're in a situation right now that even if the Bears do pick the right players, if this culture continues to be a problem, they're going to leave before they get their second contract. Heck, we saw that with Roquan. And as you said, there could be selling at the trade deadline. Jalen Johnson could potentially be on the move. Darnell Mooney could potentially be on the move. Like there's so many dudes that could be on their way out of Chicago at this rate. Heck, Justin Fields could potentially be on the move before the trade deadline. This continues.
IR him, yeah. If they don't IR him.
Yeah, if he doesn't get put on IR, and for those of you wondering, what do you mean he could be on the move? If he's not put on injured reserve, he could potentially be on the move. And the logical place is the Atlanta Falcons. Yep. Because Ryan Pace did draft him, and Ryan Pace is now living comfortably in Atlanta. And
loves him too.
Yep, and in fairness to Pace, Pace will be aggressive to go give up whatever he needs to get his guy. So maybe the Bears could pull one on the Falcons and get something valuable in return. Because this is a pretty deep draft. This is a pretty good draft class. At least top heavy. It's very, very top heavy. But in terms of depth, there's also some other good players that could potentially be coming out. And I did a mock draft recently where I had us going with Marvin Harrison Jr., the wide receiver from Ohio State, Joe Alt, the offensive tackle out of Notre Dame, and Dallas Turner, the defensive end out of Alabama. So you get two line of scrimmage guys, and you also have a blue chip wide receiver prospect. And Isaiah, I want to get your thoughts on what do you think the Bears could do with those high draft picks?
Yeah, I think you might have just hit it on the nail. I love Caleb Williams. I like him as a prospect, but I feel like no matter who they have at quarterback, we have to address the biggest elephant in the room, and that's the fact that they continue to hire old coaches, with the old mentality of football of fitting into the Mikowskis of what they want in a head coach, and it can't be the same vanilla way of, okay, I want this nice guy to be the coach. Where is the Bruce Arians? Where is the Mike Tomlins? Where are those guys? Those are the coaches the Bears need. They don't need it to be, okay, he's an offensive coach, he's a defensive coach, he's a special teams coach. They need a head coach in general. And it just, to me, it matters about, not only, what talent you bring in, but it matters of getting the head coach job corrected. Because if you cannot get the job corrected, you'll fall into scenarios where your players aren't being coached up to their full potential. And we see it every week, even with DJ Moore, let alone what he was able to do in the game against Washington. That right there should be a game you can build off upon, continue to add talent. But obviously we're stuck in a situation where we have the wrong head coach, which I personally criticized his first year of not being the right guy to lead this Bears organization. That's just my whole thought. I would love for them to scoop up a Marvin Harrison Jr. and a Joe Alt, but I feel like those players would not be able to live up to their full potential because of the coaching staff hindering them back.
Right, and I mentioned three players that had the Bears trading with the Cardinals. Number 1 to get number 7, so I think it's the number 4 and 12, or just get the two first runners from Arizona, which will allow them to get those extra prospects. But I'll take whatever I can get at this point. The problem is with the Bears, as we said, the line of scrimmage is not there. And heck, Randy White, the great Cowboys defensive tackle, said it best when on the NFL 100 roundtables. He talked about how the key to the game is still winning the line of scrimmage. Unfortunately, even in the 2006 season that the Bears wants to be so happy about, those lines of scrimmage weren't exactly elite. Okay, Olin Kreutz was good. John Tate was good. Reuben Brown was good. But Roberto Garza and Fred Miller wasn't exactly, top notch per se. And that Bears defensive line without Tommy Harris took a significant nosedive. And it showed up in the Super Bowl. I know they had the championship game. Reggie Bush had that one play, but hey, anybody can do something for a certain amount of time. It comes down to actually having some consistency. For all the talk that the Legion of Boom gets for the Seattle Seahawks, Cliff Averill and the guys are from were pretty darn impressive. The Broncos, no fly zone. Lee Jackson running the line of scrimmage. The Patriots owning the line of scrimmage for so long. The Chiefs, when they won those Super Bowls and lost one, line of scrimmage. No one wants to think about those guys until everything screws up. But
Absolutely.
you need those guys to win. And Chicago, for some reason, just can't do it. Now, Darnell Wright may be an exception. Darnell Wright looks legit. But can we really say more about a rookie? Tevin Jenkins has been in and out. Nate Davis had a chance to cover him when he was in high school here. Meh. Center position, don't get us all started with that. At least you've been 100% ranting about the center position. And
I
then
was right about
tackle,
that.
the left tackle's a revolving door. I
I
think
have
Jackson's a good player, but he's not
I
it.
I
I
credit
don't. I think this neck injury is going to keep him out a while, and if that's the case, you have no choice but to take a left tackle
I
in the
think
You
draft.
gotta go. You gotta go with somebody, Olu or Joe Alt.
I
Isaiah,
think I
That's the problem, is though, right? That's the problem we're facing right now, right? So we don't know where these picks are going to end up, right?
we don't
But
know yet.
and we don't, but it most likely will be two high picks, right? It'll be two high picks. And if you get the number one pick from Carolina, you're taking Caleb Williams. So then you only have one pick left. And if Marvin Harrison Jr. is sitting there on the board, I don't think you pass on him
You
for a
can't
Joe
pass on the generational talent. I'm sorry.
Olu Fashanu. So then it's like, okay, you used your two picks on a quarterback and a wide receiver. Well, now you have to use the rest of your picks on the trenches, right? Still
Yeah.
need a defensive end, still need offensive lineman. You need a left tackle, a center, another guard. You need defensive end, defensive tackle. So it's like having to take a quarterback is going to handicap the Bears
It
in the
will.
draft. In the
It
draft,
will. Go
and
ahead.
it'll
like if it
handicap.
comes to the point, the coaches need to be fired. You have to get those guys out of there. You cannot roll back in with the same regime. That is my only counter argument to that is firing the coaches because you can't keep doing it. You cannot
You don't have
keep.
a choice. Yeah, you can't.
In
You
my
can't.
opinion, I think they got to get. I don't understand why back when they were doing the hiring process, why they didn't try to hire Jim Caldwell. I feel like he could have been a great Bears head coach. I
And he
feel
had
like
head coaching experience.
wait, what'd you say?
I said he had head coaching experience too.
Not only head coaching experience, but he had back-to-back winning seasons. He made the playoffs with the Lions. He had success. It was not like he left out of the NFL, just leave out of the NFL. Sure, with some
Right.
health issues, but that's a risk towards it. But you have to look at so many positives that come with hiring a type of guy like him. To me, he would have been, a similar guy like Lovey, a guy, who wasn't too overly aggressive on his players, but enough to get enough out of his players to, command the whole locker room. But when you just look at, the whole overall roster, potentially taking a quarterback, I just feel like, man, everybody rave about getting more picks, getting more picks, getting more picks. And although that's a great thing, but the thing is, the tough part is finding guys that can be blue chip guys with those picks. It's great to have a whole lot of picks. Well, now you have to find the talent to add around a full team to make those guys work and to make those guys really show what they can be. And that's why I'm a big proponent of, when you have picks, I'm a big proponent of taking the guy that's a clear blue chip player. We could be sitting up here talking about Caleb Williams being the next Michael Jordan in Chicago, with him being, such a great quarterback. Sure, he might have some of, Fields' problems, but when you just look at the pass of the football field, of the pass of the football, what he can do, the throws he can do off platform, the throws he can make, when he's, on both of his feet, he's throwing it like a sidearm. The things that he's able to do as a passer that at least give you some relief, but you will hope that they will fire the head coaches enough where they can get the right guy in there so that everything else meshes well with the coach, with the quarterback, and with everybody else on the staff.
I mean, I get what you're saying about the whole passing thing, right? The thing where I push back is we heard all of that with Zach Wilson, and we see how he's turned out in the NFL. I think situation definitely matters. I think coaching definitely matters. So if you don't have the right coach, he can be talented as all get out, but you have to have the right coaches to develop these quarterbacks. So I think if we do get Caleb Williams, you have to have the right coach. And I mean for real have to have the right coach. Otherwise he'll just be another Zach Wilson. And then you run into problems. you run into problems then.
I honestly
But how
think
can we trust the staff? How can we trust this organization anymore? They never get the right people in charge. How are we
I think
supposed to trust them?
if they lucked out, and my only hope is, if they lucked out with Ryan Pose, I truly believe that it's a potential chance we can get the right guy in here that can not only command the locker room, but to command the whole offense of what it can be. I I look at I look at Ben Johnson, although he is an OC, I like, looking at the younger guys that are OCs, because when you look at the not the Mike McDaniels, but what's the coach name and for the Dolphins, you look at him
Mike
and
McDaniel.
do as a
Mike
young mind
McDaniel, yeah.
offensive coordinator. Yeah. Those the guys that the
They
Bears
built a team that has some value because they have speedsters on the outside, but they also have an offensive line that can do something. Like I would, if the Bears were to not take the top two flashy guys, and they took two old linemen, as much as many folks would criticize it, I wouldn't necessarily be too mad with that.
I mean,
Like, at least forgive me, but like I wouldn't be mad because
I wouldn't be mad at it, but at the same time, you're not gonna pass on Marvin Harrison Jr.
no,
or Caleb.
I get that. I just saying it wouldn't be disappoint me because at least like okay, if you're gonna move the two tackles, let's say you take the two tackles. Darnell Wright kicks right into right guard. I don't care about Nate Davis anymore. I'm sorry.
I wouldn't put Darnell at right guard now.
I think he's more of a tackle, if anything.
True, but then what if you take the two tackles, you gotta move one of them inside. And those two are really, really good prospects.
Like, I think, and that's what I said. This taking a quarterback really handicaps you because then it's like, what do you do with that second pick you have? Do you take a left tackle? Do you take a receiver? Depending on if Marvin Harrison Jr. is there, do you trade it to get more picks? It's just like you have all these options, right? But having to take
What if they're not in a position to take Caleb Williams? What if they're in a position where you can still get Marvin, right? But you like let's just say you pick number 2 with Carolina, someone else goes up to number 1. They take the quarterback, we take Marvin, and then we can take an offensive lineman with the second pick. So we solve two problems.
take Drake May
I
then.
see it playing down that way.
I'm still not sure on Drake May though. Drake May reminds me of Mitch Trubisky.
Well, I know. I'm just saying they're gonna take a quarterback if they have a high pick. Is what I'm saying.
True.
Like if Caleb isn't there, it'll be Drake May. So I think that's what it's just gonna handicap you. It's gonna handicap you regardless.
Right. What if they take JJ McCarthy?
What?
What if they were to take JJ McCarthy? I mean, I know it may not sound flashy, but he is winning in a big conference.
He's like a second round grade, right?
True. I'm not saying you take him in the first round, but what if you take a wide receiver and offensive lineman in the first round? You take JJ McCarthy in the second round.
JJ McCarthy's a project. You better have a veteran quarterback he can develop under.
I mean, why not?
Who are you bringing in?
Again, like I'm not saying I would do it. I'm just saying why not? I mean, you'd have to look at
I'm saying you can do it, but you're definitely gonna need a veteran quarterback, like so that he can sit under.
True, but again, like we're in a really, really tough spot. Like there was a point of us that wished if Fields had balled out this year, then those 2 picks could be used for something else. We don't have to worry about handicapping. But in fairness, the only good thing about that trade now is, at least with the Panthers stinking, or either one of us, if both of the teams stink, you have the best of both worlds. If one stinks, at least you have a shot at getting somebody. But if the Panthers and us start winning games and the picks go too low, we're going to be in some real problems.
I don't even would have mattered if the Panthers end up with the number 1 pick, right? Because there's no way you pass on Caleb. So the only chance he really ever had was if Carolina didn't get the number 1 pick.
Well, we don't know. They might win a game here and there and mess it up.
They'll beat us Thursday night.
Yeah, they will beat
they,
us. That's
they
for
could
sure.
beat us, but they could beat the Falcons as well. I could talk myself into a reason of how they can get the second overall pick. You know, how I see this is, I don't think I think you look at it like this. Would you rather have Drake May over Justin Fields? Would you rather have JJ over Justin Fields? Would you rather have Caleb Williams over Justin Fields? Probably a yes. I think that's more highly
Dude,
likely.
but Caleb's performance against Notre Dame, and for those of you wondering here, this is a Bears podcast episode. So if you're not interested, please don't watch. But anyway, even
I
if you take Caleb Williams, the Notre Dame game gave me cause to pause.
the only reason my biggest knock for Caleb Williams, and I really like Caleb Williams, my biggest knock is his size. He's rather small.
Six
I
one,
didn't
man. That's an issue.
like I didn't realize it until I went to the game Saturday. But he's small. Like he's small and
Wait,
we
you were
see
at the Notre Dame game?
yeah, I was.
What was that like?
Oh, it was crazy. It was crowded. Too many people were there. But Joe Alt is a tank. That dude's a tank. Like
I mean, I could use that if I'm a Bears fan. I could take that.
6'8" at about 315 pounds. He is a
Oh,
tank.
that's the left tackle we need. We need a mauler on one side. Darnell Wright's already one good dude. Get a second dude.
That dude is a
Great to have Braxton as a swing guy. You know,
Yeah,
Like,
put Braxton in the swing role.
that dude is a tank. And then with Caleb is part of his issues for his struggles Saturday was he couldn't see over his offensive lineman. So like by the time he would roll out and the ball was out of his hands, he would just throw it and he didn't see the guy was in triple coverage, right? He didn't see that the guy was in triple coverage and he would just throw that ball recklessly and that's he would make decisions where you're like that just wasn't a good throw. That wasn't a good decision. And you saw what happened when he got pressured in that game. He started getting reckless with the football. He started overthinking things and things like that. So he's definitely not perfect. You know, that first pick was thrown off his back foot. That was a dumb play. Regardless, that was dumb. You don't do that. And I think that's my biggest concern is his size, right? They say 6'1", but he's more like 6 feet 5'11". Like and unless you have stability on the offensive line and weapons for him to throw to, no situation would be ideal for him. He's small. He's small. And we see how Bryce Young is doing right now. And they was talking about Bryce Young's the next big thing and this, that, and the other, right?
We do know why they hyped up Bryce Young. Let's be honest. We know why they picked up Bryce Young.
I'm just saying
it's Alabama, man.
I know. I'm just saying though, size matters. Size
Yep.
definitely.
Russell Wilson was a little bit of an exception because if we're seeing right now, the Legion of Boom is what saved the Seahawks.
That's what's helping
Drew
Miami.
Drew Brees might be the only one, but at least Drew Drew's like a rare breed, and he can process he can process it a lot faster than people give him credit for.
Like Kyler Murray, when healthy, that's his issues. He can't stay healthy.
Yep.
When he's healthy, he's a decent quarterback. But that's the thing with smaller guys is their health doesn't really hold up for them. You know,
you got to be at least 6'2", man, to play quarterback. 6'2".
I think. Yeah, because even 6'2" is kind of, especially depending on how much you weigh, right?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Brock Purdy's 6'1", but he's also like 190 pounds. Like,
but in fairness to Brock, like he's playing in a system where he doesn't have to be a superstar.
Exactly. And if Caleb isn't in that kind of situation, trying to play at that spot,
that kind of role.
What if the Bears go a scenario where they continue to build the overall team, and they switched offensive coordinators? How would Bears fans feel about that? I mean, it doesn't change.
No. I'd rather, for all the people say take a quarterback in this draft, honestly speaking,
I'd rather
build what quarterback we take, it's not good enough. Why don't we just actually build the whole freaking culture first and then take a quarterback to put us over the top?
I mean, we've seen it with Tua. Tua was a quarterback, who who was hampered by Brian Flores when they got a coach in there that could, get out his best abilities. He looked like
Right.
a totally different quarterback. It's
True,
it's
but
just a matter of getting the right, like you said, getting the right head coach. You
right.
look at a guy like D'Amico Ryan and what he done with CJ Stroud. Not only
He's made CJ Stroud comfortable, even though he's a defensive coach, because he hired the right offensive coaches. So even if the OC were to leave for a head coaching position, there's enough guys in the background that D'Amico's got connections with that can still help CJ Stroud thrive.
Just move everyone up. Everyone moves up. That's basically what happens.
Yep. And with the Bears right now, personally speaking, if we look at the way the Chiefs were ultimately built, they got the quarterback last, if we really think about it.
Exactly.
They got everything else situated first.
If you're looking at it, that's what Detroit's technically doing. Goss a bridge.
And same with the Eagles. Jalen Hurts wasn't the first pick of that draft. They built everything else first. And then they got the quarterback to really take them over the top. That's what Chicago might need to do. Just get everything to get proper place and then find the right quarterback. Don't jump on it too early and make a mistake.
That's what San Francisco did. They built up the trenches first, and now they have a serviceable quarterback to take it up.
But you got to start hitting on these later round picks. Every offensive lineman can't be the first round.
That's a big deal. You have to hit on your picks. It can't just be one here, one there. It's got to be multiple picks. If you're gonna have 10 picks, you have to hit on 5 or more.
You got to hit at least 5 or 6 of them.
Okay, so let's go down to the port of Ryan Poe's picks that have looked somewhat promising. I think Gordon has looked promising. I think Donald Wright has looked promising. I think the kid from Minnesota, the cornerback that he drafted this year, I continue to forget.
Terrell Smith.
Is it Will Smith or who else?
Terrell Smith.
Terrell, he has looked promising. Roshan has looked promising.
Hold on. Let's go through all the picks that he's made in his entire Ryan Poles has made several picks. I'm gonna run through the list here. Tell me what you guys think.
16 total.
I'm gonna run through all of them. Everybody he's picked ever since he arrived here. So we start with 2022's draft class. So 2021, pardon me. 2022, yeah, 22, excuse me. So Kyler Gordon.
That's a good one.
Jaquan Brisker.
That depends who you ask. Isaiah would say no, but I think that's a decent pick.
It's a decent pick, but I need him to be more mature as a player. He's obviously immature.
Still young.
He has his flaws. Let's leave it at that. Velus Jones Jr.
Bomb. That's a bust.
Braxton Jones.
I'm just not sold on Braxton.
Solid.
Dominique Robinson.
Bomb.
He has not showing nothing.
Zach Thomas.
Bomb. He got poached off our practice squad anyway.
Treston Ebner.
Bomb. He got cut.
Doug Kramer.
He hasn't shown anything. I'd like to see him at center next week.
Yeah. Jatiri Carter.
Solid.
I give that. Elijah Hicks. Not a bum. Not a bum for sure.
Good guy to come in and
then, and then Trenton Gill.
He's our punter, so that's a hit.
I guess so, yeah. But in fairness to him, he's actually looked pretty decent.
That's what I said. That's a hit.
Okay. Now 2023. Let's go through that. Darnell Wright.
Hit.
Let's see. Next one. Jervon Dexter Sr.
Still very questionable.
Tyrese
Ooh, no. He gets cooked all the time. No.
He's getting cooked consistently, yeah. Zach Pickens.
Who was the last pick that you went over?
I went on Tyrese Stevenson.
Oh yeah.
He gets cooked a lot. No, I'm not.
But in fairness to him, he's got a lot to learn. They said this stuff about him to begin with, so he's not a horrible pick by any means, but he's got a lot to learn. Zach Pickens.
But he hasn't played enough for me.
Flashes here and there, but not enough.
He hasn't played enough for me.
Roshan Johnson.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a damn good one. Tyler Scott.
Not enough, man. I don't
Not
really
enough.
for
Not
me.
enough.
Noah Sewell.
He plays special teams, so I mean, I guess
Right.
sort of a hit. Sort of.
I don't know. Terrell Smith.
I like Terrell Smith.
He showed some promise.
I like him more than Stevenson, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrell Smith certainly he's shown something to me. So I'm willing to I like it. Travis Bell
He's on the practice squad, so no.
and Kendall Williamson.
I'm pretty sure we cut him. So no. So
So
you're looking at 9 out of 21 draft picks.
that's not
But
a good number.
that's not a great number. That number should be at least 11.
Or even 12, if we're being honest.
What we can change this is the Valus pick, and we can change it with the Valus, and probably let's say like what are we talking about? I think there was an offensive lineman in that draft that the Bears passed
Jack
up.
Thomas.
No, it was this year. He had ACL injury. He went to the Baltimore Ravens. He was injured.
Andrew Voorhees.
Yeah.
I wanted Voorhees so bad too.
That would have been a great pick in the draft, and we let the Ravens take him, and he's probably going to be a starter for the Ravens down the line. Who knows?
Next year, he'll be the starter next year. Guarantee it.
And look what'll happen. He'll go on to be one of the best dudes in the league.
If you exchange some of those picks with a center, and let's say like
get John Michael Schmitz. We could have gotten John Michael Schmitz with those second-round picks. I really thought we traded up. It was going to be for JMS, but he took Tyreek Stevens.
When we traded up, I thought that's who we were taking. Like I literally was freaking out. I thought that's who we were taking. And then we took Tyreek Stevenson, and I just remember my heart.
It was
like, no way.
So
Bro,
if you were going to pick Terrell Smith and you believed in what he could be, it made no sense to go back again and pick another cornerback. Obviously picking Stevenson first. It made no sense to do that. You should have just took a center. I understand you're trying to get depth, but you should be getting depth in free agency. You shouldn't be trying to get a bunch of depth right now when you have a team you're still trying to rebuild. To me, that never made sense. They should have 100% addressed center.
Oh man, I hate talking about it because I was banging the table all off season about how before the draft, about how we should take a center because I said this center class is deep. This is the time to get a center, even if he doesn't play. That's fine with me. But this is your chance to take a center, and they didn't. I was so pissed.
We have a good draft class. We have one guy at my that I personally love at center. Hopefully the Bears actually get him center from Georgia.
Van
Honestly, I think he'll be the best center the Bears have had since what was his name?
Olin
Kreutz.
I like him or Zach Frazier from West Virginia.
I like him. How about Bryce Foster at Texas A&M? A little bit underrated, but very nasty.
He's nasty. I also like Jackson Powers Johnson from Oregon.
Ooh, that's a sneaky one right there.
He's an under the radar that nobody's talking about. He's really good.
Yeah, that's a sneaky good pick right there.
Like it or not, look, I like Doug Kramer, right? But he's a backup at best. That's just gonna be his role. And that's good to have. You want a good quality backup center. But he's not a guy who should be your long-term starter, right? That you can't have. Drake Nugent from Michigan is another option, but he's undersized. It's a decent center class. It's not as loaded.
There's some good linemen in this draft. Like this draft class is pretty deep for what people forget. But the problem with the Bears is they're not going to pick those guys. They're going to pick someone that we don't want.
I'm talking about center though. The center class isn't as deep as last year. You have 3, 4 guys, and that's it this year. Like last year, you had like 6, 7
Yeah,
guys.
you had Joe Tippin, you had John Michael Schmitz, you
You
had
had Oluwatimi, you had John Michael Schmitz, you had Luke Weipler.
Ricky
and he's
Alex,
looking pretty good for Cleveland and late round
Washington
pick.
Ricky, I forgot his name.
Ricky
Ford,
Stromberg.
Ricky Stomper.
uh, uh, who's the other dude that went? The dude from Arkansas, Ricky Stromberg.
Yeah.
Penn
Uh,
State guy.
Oh, we mentioned Oluwatimi, yeah, from
State
Michigan.
guy
Jake,
that they had last year. I
Jake
forgot his name.
Andrews,
Juice Scruggs was the guy.
Scruggs, Drake Andrews from Troy.
Yep.
Like that was a deep class. Nick Saldivardi from
And
Old Dominion.
The Bears couldn't even pick any of them. Like,
Bro, I'm
why?
saying, like, even if you wanted to sit him, that would have been fine. But it was a loaded center class. Like it was. I was.
Mine.
They were too reliant on Lucas Patrick and Cody Whitehair. That's the problem.
Like, bro, I was licking my chops. I'm like, oh, we can at least get a good, decent center for the future. And they didn't do it. I was so mad because I'm like, you don't even have to play him. Just take one to groom under Cody and Lucas. Oh my gosh. Bro, if they avoid center this year, I'm gonna be so mad. I'm gonna be mad. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be mad. I think but you've noticed it in the games, right? You've noticed Cody and Lucas have struggled snapping the ball. And that's just not good for any quarterback. You want a guy that can snap the football because when you undersnap, oversnap, the quarterback has to change his eyes during the play. And that messes with the play. Like, I just don't get why we don't even have a competent center. You even had centers in free agency that you could have got that were better than what you decided to roll with. And now you have a situation where what you have to maybe go to Doug Kramer and ask him to be the center on Sunday, a guy who's never played meaningful NFL snaps but can snap a football. I mean, this is
That's
where
not
we're at.
saying
Unless you want to go back to Cody, who can't snap, that's apparent he can't. Or Lucas Patrick.
there's nothing that this organization can do because they don't hire the right people, and it's just a misery.
Like, what you go with Lucas Patrick Sunday? I mean,
what is the fascination with Lucas Patrick to begin with?
I don't look. You know that's a Luke Getsy guy.
He's their prick. He's their prick. Remember that's what they said when they got
prick? I don't see a prick,
bro. Our center position, and that just could have been avoided. You really could have taken a center in the draft. Like, Cody and Lucas have been awful this year. They've been awful, and I told people in the off season because they laughed at me when I said I don't want Cody as the center. He has snapping issues. Right? I said there's a reason we moved him from guard or from center to guard. Right? People laughed at me and yada yada, and now they're the same people saying, "Wow, you're right." I'm like, it's not that I hate Cody. I'm like, I actually like Cody, but he's on the decline. It's obvious. You see it. You see he's on the decline. His body's not holding up like it used to. He used to be a really solid player. He's just not that guy anymore. And relying on him to, you know, be serviceable for you is just not a good idea at this point anymore, right? They talked about how, he played his best years as center and yada yada. I'm like, you obviously didn't watch the Cody I watched, who had erratic snaps and struggled in the shotgun his whole career, which is why we moved him to guard in the first place. So when they announced Cody was going to be playing center this year, I had that fear that I'm like, oh, now we're going to see the erratic snaps again. And now you're seeing them, and it's been detrimental to the team and the quarterback.
Well, nothing we can do, guys. But for all of you listening, that's all the time we really have for tonight. We want to thank Isaiah and Elise for jumping on here. And before we go off, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Follow us on our Twitter pages. We will have those to you shortly. I'll make sure to put them in the comments. I'll make sure to put that in the description for this video so you guys can listen in. And always find us on the Twitter Spaces. We got plenty of material out there, and feel free to check us out. And these guys, I might bring them back on as guests in the future. But this is the SG3 podcast. Want to thank Isaiah and Elise for jumping on here. And as always,
Appreciate you.
like I see it. Do you?